In a city where power speaks louder than kindness, where titles matter more than hearts, and where the invisible remain unseen, one woman gave her all, and received nothing but pain in return. Before the sun even touched the glass towers of the city, before the first cars filled the street, Riziki was already there, a humble office maid, in a busy, high-end insurance company, where suits spoke money and silence spoke fear. She unlocked the doors, switched on the lights, breathed life into a building that barely knew she existed, sweeping every corner like it mattered, dusting every surface like it would be inspected by royalty, arranging files with careful hands. Even though no one ever noticed when they were out of place, she moved quietly, not because she had nothing to say, but because no one had ever stopped to listen. Her shoes were worn, her hands rough from years of labor, but her heart still believed. Riziki whispered to herself, "If I do my best, one day someone will see me." The clock struck 8 a.m. That meant one thing: tea for the boss. Not just any tea, but Bernard's tea, the most important task of her day. She carefully measured the sugar, 1 spoon, then half, just the way he liked it. She boiled the water, watching closely. Not too hot, not too cold. She warmed the cup first, a small detail she had learned after being scolded many times. She wiped the tray twice, adjusted the spoon, straightened the napkin. Today, she told herself, would be different. Today, he would finally say, "Good job. Sir, your tea." She stepped in carefully, eyes lowered, hands steady. Bernard didn't look at her. Not even once. He grabbed the cup, took a sip. Too cold. Riziki flinched. I warmed the cup, sir. Are you arguing with me?" His voice cut through the room like a blade. "Do I pay you to think? Or to follow instructions?" The next day, she tried again, this time hotter, sweeter, perfect in her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly as she walked in. "Sir, your tea." He sipped. "Too sweet." Her breath caught. "Can you do anything right?" Days turned into a cycle. Effort. Hope. Failure. She polished his desk until it reflected light like a mirror, only for him to complain about fingerprints that weren't even there. She arranged files alphabetically, only for him to shout when he couldn't find one. He misplaced himself. She mopped the floor twice, and still. He walked in, deliberately dragging his muddy shoes across it. "Look at that, still dirty. What do we even keep you for?" His boss shouted in anger. Each word, each insult, didn't just hit her ears. They sank deeper, into her confidence, into her spirit, into the small voice inside her that once believed. Her smile faded, her steps slowed, but she never stopped trying, because somewhere inside, she still hoped, maybe tomorrow will be better. One afternoon, the office was empty. Riziki stood by the window, holding a cleaning cloth, but not moving. She looked at the city outside, people walking with purpose, cars rushing forward, lives moving on. A single tear rolled down her cheek. "Why is it never enough?" Riziki whispered. But in a world where cruelty seemed endless, fate was quietly preparing something unexpected, patiently waiting for the right moment to intervene. And that moment came in the form of a man, Tajiri, a billionaire, a name that opened doors before he even arrived, a man whose presence could silence entire rooms. Powerful, respected, untouchable, he often visited the insurance office, not because he needed them, but because men like him owned risks, not feared them. He walked with calm authority. Tailored suits, polished shoes, a watch worth more than the entire office's yearly salaries. People stood straighter when he passed. Voices softened, eyes followed, but behind all that power was a man used to luxury, yet strangely unfamiliar with something far more valuable: kindness. One ordinary morning, that would become anything but ordinary, Riziki stood at the tea station again. Careful, focused, determined. But this time, her hands trembled slightly. Because today, there was a guest, Tajiri. She had heard whispers about him. Stories. Rumors. Men feared him. Women admired him. But no one truly knew him. She walked into Bernard's office slowly, balancing the tray with precision. 2 cups, perfectly aligned. Steam rising gently. Her eyes stayed lowered. Sir, your tea. Bernard barely acknowledged her. But Tajiri looked up, and in that moment, he froze. It wasn't just her beauty. No. It was something deeper. The quiet strength in her eyes. The softness in her movements. The grace in her silence. She wasn't trying to impress. She wasn't trying to be seen. And somehow, that made her impossible to ignore. Tajiri reached for the cup, still watching her, still distracted. The cup tilted, tea spilling through the air, droplets catching the light. Then, hot tea spilled across his wrist, dripping onto his expensive watch, pooling onto the polished office floor. Oh! Tajiri gasped. Bernard jumped up instantly. What is wrong with you? He snapped, already turning toward Riziki. But before the blame could land, before the anger could explode, Riziki moved. Please, let me help. Her voice was calm, steady, sincere. No panic. No excuses. Just action. She quickly reached for tissues, gently holding Tajiri's wrist. Sorry. I'll clean it. She wiped the tea from his watch with delicate care, as if it were something fragile, something important. Her fingers were careful, respectful, never rushing, never trembling. Tajiri watched her. Not the situation, not the mess, her. The way she focused, the way she handled him with dignity, not fear. Something about it felt different. Without hesitation, Riziki knelt to the floor, cleaning the spilled tea, wiping every drop, making sure nothing remained. Her dress touched the ground. Her hands moved quickly, efficiently. But her face, still calm. No complaints, no frustration, no fear. Just kindness. Unforced. Unnoticed by everyone else. Bernard scoffed. Clumsy as always, he muttered, shaking his head. But Tajiri didn't hear him. Because in that moment, something shifted inside him. In a world where everything had a price, where loyalty could be bought, and respect was often fake, he saw something real, something rare, something he had never been able to purchase, no matter how much money he had. His gaze lingered on her, not with arrogance, not with desire alone, but with curiosity, respect, and something deeper. Something even he didn't fully understand yet. And in that quiet, unexpected moment, a billionaire, surrounded by everything, discovered the one thing he had been missing all along. One morning, Riziki was on her usual routine, carefully placing her tray of morning tea on Bernard's office table. You're fired. Bernard's voice thundered through the building. Sharp, final, merciless. For the last time. Get out. The entire office fell silent. Keyboards stopped. Whispers died. All eyes slowly turned. Riziki stood frozen in the middle of the room. Her hands trembled. Her lips parted, but no words came out. In that moment, time didn't move. It shattered. Tears filled her eyes, blurring everything around her. Her effort, her hope, her quiet endurance, all collapsing at once. Bernard didn't stop. He grabbed her small bag and flung it toward the door. Take your useless things and leave. The sound of it hitting the floor echoed louder than his words. He pushed the door open and pointed outside, like she was nothing, like she had always been nothing. Riziki stepped out slowly. The door slammed behind her, and just like that, it was over. She stood there alone. Her belongings scattered at her feet. The same ground she had cleaned every morning now felt unfamiliar, unwelcoming. A tear slipped down her cheek, then another, until she could no longer hold them back. Across the street, A sleek black luxury car idled quietly. Engine low. Windows slightly tinted. Inside, Tajiri sat still, watching. Every word, every action, every tear. His jaw tightened. His fingers curled slowly against the leather seat. At first, he had watched with curiosity. But now, something else took over. Something deeper. Something personal. Anger. Not loud. Not explosive. But cold. Focused. The car door opened. Tajiri stepped out. Each step deliberate. Calm but filled with purpose. He walked straight toward her. Riziki didn't notice at first. Her head was lowered. Her shoulders shaking softly. Then, a shadow fell beside her. "Are you okay?" His voice gentle. Nothing like the world she had just been thrown out of. She looked up. Their eyes met. And something inside her broke completely. She tried to speak, but her voice failed. Only tears answered. Without hesitation, Tajiri reached out. Not as a billionaire. Not as a powerful man. But simply as a human being. He gently held her hand. Warm. Steady. Reassuring. "Come with me." There was no pressure in his voice. No expectation. Just care. He helped her gather her belongings. Every item treated with quiet respect. Then slowly, carefully, he guided her to his car. As she sat inside, for the first time that day, the world outside felt distant, safe. For the first time, she wasn't invisible. For the first time, someone didn't just see her mistakes. He saw her. That evening, the car pulled into a grand mansion. Tall gates opened silently. Lights glowed warmly along the driveway. Riziki stepped out slowly, her eyes wide. This world felt unreal. Soft lights, polished floors, a quiet, peaceful elegance. Not loud wealth, but gentle luxury. Inside, Tajiri handed her a cup of tea. Carefully, respectfully. "Here." She hesitated. No one had ever served her like this before. "Thank you," she whispered. He gave a small nod. "You can stay here tonight. No conditions. No expectations. Just kindness." That night, the mansion fell silent. But inside, two hearts were wide awake. Tajiri lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her face lingered in his mind. The way she spoke. The way she cared. The way she stayed gentle in a harsh world. He turned restless. For the first time in years, his wealth meant nothing, because something deeper had touched him. Across the hallway, Riziki sat on the edge of the bed, her fingers lightly holding the cup he had given her. Still warm, still real. Tears rolled down her face again. But this time, they were different. Not just pain, but confusion, gratitude, something unfamiliar, something soft. Two souls, from completely different worlds, drawn together by something neither could explain. Tajiri stood outside her door, paused, then knocked. Gently, the door opened slowly. Riziki stood there, eyes slightly red, but calm. They looked at each other. No words. None were needed, because sometimes the deepest connections are felt, not spoken. He stepped closer. She didn't move away. The silence between them was no longer empty. It was full of emotion, of understanding, of something undeniable. They leaned closer, breath meeting. He hesitated just for a second, giving her a choice. She didn't step back. And then, they kissed. Soft, careful, real. Not rushed, not forced, but filled with everything they had both been holding inside. That night, two broken worlds didn't just meet, they healed. Together, days turned into weeks, and slowly, Riziki's life began to change. The same hands that once scrubbed floors now traced marble railings. The same eyes that once avoided attention now shined with confidence. The same heart that once endured pain now knew love. She walked beside Tajiri, not behind him, not beneath him, But beside him, equal, valued, loved, she was no longer surviving, no longer invisible, no longer broken. She was living, and for the first time in her life, she knew exactly what she was worth. One bright morning, a luxury car pulled up at the airport. Zanzibar awaited them. Sun, peace, love. But fate had one more twist. A man came running, desperate, broken. Please, wait. Riziki turned. It was Bernard. But not the man she knew. No power. No pride. Just desperation. I lost everything, my business, my assets, all gone. He fell to his knees. Please, forgive me. Silence. Riziki looked at him. The man who once threw her away. Tajiri stepped forward, then calmly said, "You'll work for me." Bernard looked up, shocked. As a manager in my car importation company. The maid he once called useless was now the reason he had a second chance, and in that moment, the world turned completely. Kindness is never wasted, even when ignored, even when rejected, because one day, it finds its way back, and when it does, it changes everything.